Hi, we are the oldest children of Down with the Domans, aka Jenny Doman. I am Mika, I'm 25 years old.
I am Maximus, I am 22 years old.
I'm Paxton, I'm 19 years old.
And we are here to address some videos that have been posted by our family and talk about the real facts. She claims she didn't run. She, in the same day, told us she was leaving and already had a U-Haul packed and ready to go. And her explanation was her mother was sick and she wanted to finish out school. And it was only supposed to be temporary.
Mother's Day weekend, that she packed the U-Haul by herself, but my father took time off work to willingly help her pack. And there was also members of our church, a crew that came and packed that U-Haul for her. So she did not pack that by herself. She had plenty of help to do so, to lift heavy things such as beds, TVs, nightstands, dressers, and such.
She claimed that my father left her in another state. That state that she was left in is a third home to us. There are family members that live out there. I lived out there for 8 years. It is a very safe place. It was planned out. It was not just a random state that she was left in. It's a home to us. She's around family. She's not alone.
The next thing she said is, he made sure no one wished me a happy Mother's Day. Our father said nothing about wishing her a happy Mother's Day. And in fact, I did not contact her on my own accord.
I as well did not contact her. I was in the home at the time that she was here, but she locked herself in her room. It did not seem like she wanted to be contacted or talked to by anyone.
I have text and call proof of me reaching out to her multiple times on Mother's Day, trying to make sure she felt like she was cared for, and we will show them right there. Yeah.
The next thing she said is, I never imagined after 27 years and 5 kids, it would end like this. No one would. She did in fact know about the divorce. On January 6th, she contacted me and told me that her and my father talked and were getting a divorce. Though on January 8th, I got contacted by my brother Max right here that in fact, my father did not know about the divorce and that they weren't even getting a divorce at all.
When she came to me, telling me that she had a divorce, I went seeking that same information from my father. I called him and I talked to him about it, and he had no idea, and it was also news to him as well. So he had no idea that they were getting a divorce. It was just something she came to us 3 kids first about.
On the day that she came to him about the divorce, I was home. She comes into my room crying, explaining to me that it was so awful that my father tried to divorce her because she just spent the weekend with this other man, and it looked really bad on her part. And then I talked to my father later that evening, and come to find out she was the one that initiated the divorce. It wasn't him. And he wanted to do one last family day with all of us together before we never got to do that ever again, and she refused it. So
for the next part, she claims my home was no longer a place we felt safe. And one of the first views she shows is a door that is, the trim is broken. In the background to that, it was not my father that did that, it was me. And the story behind that is I was getting in my truck early one morning to leave to work, and she goes over to my side of the house and is banging frantically and irate on my window, screaming at me and threatening me to come back inside. And she's waving this piece of paper. And I come back inside because I figured it'd just be easier to get this over with. And when I come inside, she is waving this piece of paper maybe an inch away from my face, saying that these are the house rules and I need to sign the contract and abide by them. And I told her I needed to get to work and I just didn't want to talk about it right then. And she continued to be the aggressor towards me. And I took the rules out of her hand and I ripped them up and threw them in the garbage. And I said, well, if we're sharing house rules and I have a new house rule that Dad is allowed in the house and that you're no longer allowed to drink or do drugs while you are watching the kids. And she told me that I was a liar and I was just a child and knew nothing. And I followed her to her room because she was just irate. She slammed her door and locked it. And I'm a 220-pound man, and when I went to go open that door to continue to talk to her, because I figured if we are adults then we can talk about something, if she wants me to sign it, and I broke the trim on that door. It's like where the trim that holds the lock on, you can see it in the video. And when the door was taken off, I took that door apart to fix that trim. And so that is why it's all torn apart. But the big thing is that was not my father. And so for her to portray it as it being him is wrong. And I take full responsibility for any way that could be portrayed. But I want to make it clear that not a single hand was laid on her. And Mika was just down that hallway. And she witnessed everything. And she asked me to leave the home after I did that, and I respected that request because I knew that if she somewhat felt unsafe, that I should respect that boundary. So I left and I called my father and my grandfather, and I told them what I did, and I wanted to make it clear as I knew that had crossed a line, and I was upset with her aggression towards me. And I will never say that it was acceptable on my part. I just want to acknowledge and take that responsibility and not let that be portrayed as what my father did. Okay. So for the next one, it cuts to a second door. And again, the background to that is my entrance to the home. There are two separate wings of this house. And that's like the ranch room, and it goes outside towards the shop. And so there's previous altercations that day, and she had locked me out of the house, and I keep some of the keys to the equipment that I use to run this ranch in my room, and some in the lockbox in the garage. And it is also where I lay my head, most importantly. And so when I came back, she had locked all the doors to the house and everything, and I couldn't get back in to go to bed. And so I drilled that lock out and I took that door handle off. And I have video of me doing everything. And I cleaned up after myself, and I was just trying to make it as civil as possible. I also have video footage of the interaction with the cops that she had called, where they point out key parts where she left out the majority of the story, and she told them that I was a random stranger breaking in, and that she was fearing for her life. And the cops acknowledged that she had left those key parts out of the story where I was her son and I lived there. I did fix that door. So again, those doors, I fixed them, and I put them back, and it looks like it never happened. And it was just so I could get the keys, most importantly, to feed animals. Within that time frame, there were some animals that had passed away because I was denied access to this property. There's also video footage of that and timestamps and dates. I was not allowed, and I was threatened with I wasn't able to come back to the property and feed some of these animals, or I feared for it, is she threatened to file a restraining order on me if I ever came back on the property. I am the ranch manager, and I don't charge anything for my parents because they're going through financial struggle. I am more than willing to show my W-2 on this ranch and what I get paid, and the amount of hours that I put in. There's countless hours that I put into this ranch unpaid, and she has blocked those wages, stealing the money from the ranch, so I could not do so. And so there's animals that have passed away, and it's just sad to see. And so I broke in, I took the keys to the skid steer, and I put out some bales for those cows. And I discovered that a cow had passed away in the time that I had been denied access to do my duties on this ranch and to feed these cows because they are living animals.
The next thing she said is that he dropped her off in another state. He had her moving crew dump everything while she went and got the keys and then left. She said it was urgent because her mother was deathly ill, but in fact, she was on a cruise ship at the time. Upon arrival, she did not have the keys and the movers were already paid. To keep the U-Haul until she got the keys, it would have costed a whole other day. So they decided to drop everything off and return the U-Haul. He left because she had a full team of movers to help her move in.
So for this next one, she claims, I tried to get a medical necessary device for my daughter. So we have itemized requests through attorneys as to what she actually wanted when she was planning on coming on the property. And between the two attorneys, both my father and mother, they had not agreed upon a day, nor upon just like all the details about it. They were trying to work through maybe an off-site location that she could have the agreed upon itemized requests. And she put a date in that email, and it happened to be that same day that she showed up to the property, and that was not confirmed through any of the attorneys. And this is a ranch, and so we lock up the gates when we are not here. There's equipment and there's things that we don't want people to take. And so it is not uncommon for us to lock those gates. And I have a voicemail of her calling me 15 minutes before she enters the property, and she even states I'm 15 minutes away. Not once did she mention that she was seeking a medical device for June. One important thing to note is the medical device that is here for June. It's a feeding system for her G-tube, and it was outdated, and she has since gotten a new one. And if you go to the ER or any hospital, you can get one of those on site. So if it was a medical emergency, she would not have left her child in another state, and she would have just gone to the hospital with her daughter to retrieve that device, and not come halfway across the country and seek that with her boyfriend. May I add, she came to the property with the man that she had cheated on our father with, and there is text evidence of her mentioning him dating back prior to the initiation of that divorce.
Lastly, I'd like to point out that her rent is $2,800 a month. She is also demanding $24,000 a month from our father, and she is lying to her father, who is financially supporting her, telling him that our father is not financially supporting her, even though she is receiving cashier's check through certified mail, and she has access to the joint account, the business account, and the ranch account. All right.
Thank you for listening to us. We will tag our accounts below. Please reach out to us if you have any extra comments, questions, or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.